Welcome into Stuck in the Catch Fence. This is the post-race show for the Wurth 400 at the Monster Mile in Dover, where, well, half of this panel is not very excited on today's winner. We'll discuss it next here on the post-race show. Welcome in. I am your host, Ryan Peters, joined by my co-host, Travis Butt. Travis, how are you doing on this Sunday evening?
Beautiful day out there today. Had to do a lot of weed eating and had some basketball practice, so not too bad of a day. I had to kind of watch the race from my phone, but it was okay. I got to watch the last 50 laps on the couch. Then I had to go back to weed eating.
Well, the last 50 laps were probably pretty stressful there for you, being a Kyle Larson fan.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I did a lot of mulching yesterday, so I understand what you're talking about with the yard work. But So we just got done with the Wurth 400. By the time you're watching this, it's either late Sunday evening or the next day on Monday. Dover did its thing. I think Dover gives us a more traditional NASCAR race like we've seen forever. It just seems like you got cars that roll off the line really good. You got cars that roll off the line really bad. And a lot of it comes down to pit road, and a lot of it comes down to strategy. But overall, Travis, what was your thoughts based upon the race before we get into the winner?
I mean, to me, it was just a typical Dover race. I still think the older car, the Gen 6, put on maybe a little bit better show, but it still shows you that, when you can have multiple lines at a short track, the car still technically works a little bit. So it was just good. Like I said, it was cool to see differentiating strategies a little bit. Daniel Hemrick got pretty lucky there. But yeah, for the most part, nothing special. Nothing like we had in Atlanta or some other places. But it was just a good, solid race where you saw the typical people in the top three.
Yeah, I mean, the only real incident we had was coming right off a caution, I believe.
Restart.
Or it was off a restart, and we saw Bubba Wallace end up getting, I don't know if he ended up getting turned. I'm not really sure what happened on that because, unfortunately, Fox doesn't give us the best camera views to figure out what happened, but it took out Christopher Bell. The only other incident that I can think of, and William Byron, who after having an issue on pit road was just mired in the back. Yeah. He was the one car for Hendrick that could not move up. William Byron started good up front, but once he went to the back, he was terrible. The other Hendrick cars were in the back and then moved up. So it was kind of weird on that aspect. The only other incident we saw was Ricky Stenhouse was in the top 10 most of the day, and then just decided that he was going to go up on the track. I mean, he got black flagged on iRacing. It looked like he went a little bit too soon. He was in the middle of turn 2 and then ended up hitting Josh Berry. Not sure what the spotter was thinking, blaming that on Josh Berry. That looked 100% on Ricky Stenhouse.
Agree.
But at the end of the day, the guy that maybe having a magical year, I know you don't want to hear that. Joe especially doesn't want to hear that, but you're a lot more less emotional about it than Mr. Spillman. Denny Hamlin gets the win, and it just seems like even though JGR hasn't had the same finishes that we've seen, I kind of was blown away with this stat. 4 consecutive races with nobody in the top 10, because you think about it, at Texas they absolutely should have had that, but Ty Gibbs ended up screwing up his race at the end. Denny Hamlin goes for the win and ends up wrecking. But Denny Hamlin, comes out. He's the guy that somebody asked me today, who's going to win? I said, man, it just seems like a Denny race. I don't know what it is about Denny Hamlin this year, but it just seems like he's one of the most consistent fast drivers all year long, Travis, and now he's got his 3rd win. So overall, where does this kind of put Denny in your mind when it comes to favorites for the championship?
I think the typical through the first 10 or 11 races, you usually have your favorites already. Denny's going to stack up there like he does every year. I think this is just going to be another Denny Hamlin year where He just is going to be there at the end and going to be there where he can win races. And like I've said a bunch of times, I did not like Denny Hamlin for the longest time. I thought he was kind of a crybaby at times and stuff like that. But over the especially last probably 10 months, I've gained a true meaning, more of a respecting. It's like Tom Brady. Like, no one likes Tom Brady, but you got to respect the fact that he was good. So I think it kind of goes the same way with Denny. I'm just like, I sit there and you don't want to like him, but it's like, you know what? Like, he does a lot of cool things. He's got a lot of cool podcasts, and you got to respect that he can still wheel a thing.
Yeah, I think the thing with Denny too, we got a spotlight shown upon him as an owner, and I think I remember doing a couple shows previously, being like, man, I don't know if this is going to help his racing career being an owner, because he was sitting in second place during a red flag going, where's Bubba? And I'm like, dude, you're in second place. Like, your focus should be winning on this race, not where is the guy you're driving for. And we got to listen to that. This is a show that we promote other NASCAR shows, because we're going to take information from these drivers. These drivers are going to provide information for this sport that no other show has. You don't get to listen to a podcast after the Indiana Pacers playoff game with Miles Turner. You don't get to do that. Denny Hamlin shows us that. The NASCAR series on Netflix showed us what it's like to be an owner/driver. And we get these unique landscapes that we're not used to hearing about in any other sport. And, it makes you, like you said, appreciate somebody who's trying to win a championship as a driver, setting a team up for a championship as an owner, and continuing the success of the sport. And, as somebody that had a one-time meeting Denny, he was the biggest Richard I've ever met in my entire life out of a pro athlete, outside of Amir Garrett, and was like, yeah, this guy's kind of a D-bag. But, I'm sure same will be said about my driver in Kyle Busch. So it is what it is. But, it just seems like the momentum coming off the NASCAR show has just leveled up, and made, Denny Hamlin really a favorite. I mean, he's fast every single week. And it kind of leads into the next topic, Travis. We really need to start marketing NASCAR. It's a two-team battle. It's JGR versus Hendrick. We did that before. I did this. We did a show where you and I talked about it's JGR Hendrick versus everybody else. Every single week, Travis, it's JGR and it's Hendrick. Really, it's kind of Denny Hamlin and it's Hendrick right now.
Yeah, you got, in my opinion, you got three clear-cut Final Four people. As long as nothing happens. You got Larson, you have Byron, and you have Hamlin. I think those are your three clear-cut people that's like, okay, who's going to be the fourth? Who's going to be the next person to step up? I haven't really seen anyone really step up. I mean, out of the other JGR camp, he's really stepped up. Gibbs looked really good, but he's kind of fell off the last.
Bell's been terrible last
week. Bell has a win at Phoenix, but kind of fell off. Truex has kind of been there, but he's decent in points. But then when you look at Hendrick, Bowman looked really good today. Then he kind of got shuffled back a little bit. Elliott's got that win, but like I said, he's kind of, he's not. He's probably still, I'd consider, the third best Hendrick car.
Yeah, he's still not leading laps.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but it's still like we always talk about, the good ones, the good race teams, and the good teams find ways to win and compete and do well. So I don't know. I think we got three favorites right now, and it's interesting to see who you're going to put in that fourth, fifth, sixth spot. I mean, think about it last year.
Yeah.
We had the same kind of thing. We had three favorites. Truex fell way off, so then he kind of jumped off, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Blaney won the championship.
Yep.
So,
same thing with Logano the year before. It was like we had our favorites, and then Logano just jumped in and won.
Yep.
But I mean, like the thing I see with your guy, Kyle Larson, he's been more consistent this year. I think he's taken less risk. I think he really values the regular season championship and sees how far that can take you. So I think that's a good thing. He could have done something really stupid today. You know, I don't know, like ran the really, really high line. He knew where he was fast, but it seemed like he was content getting second place. And I think those are the things, again, alluding back to Denny Hamlin, you know, he knocked himself out of the regular season points lead by going for it at Texas.
Yep.
And, you know, you see those type of things happen. And I think Kyle Larson has had somebody talking in his ear and like, dude, we're already in. Get these points and set yourself up for round 8. Because if you win the championship in the regular season, like you saw with Martin Truex, you can almost guarantee yourself to round 8 because we've never seen such a catastrophic end of the year.
Didn't get a top 10. Didn't get a top 10 in the playoffs, which is crazy.
And still was one race away from getting to the Final Four.
Yep. And just like, you know, like you said, I think you look at last year, I think he led NASCAR in DNFs and still got second in the points.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think about. But, you know, like we said, it's a 3-horse race. You know, we don't know who that other driver is that's going to compete. Is it going to be Truex? I don't know. Based off last year, he's going to fall off planet Earth. I don't know who else is going to be. So
yeah.
It's going to be interesting coming up. You know, some of these other teams got to step up a little bit. They're getting a little worried. I know that some of them might be digging in a little bit.
But the thing, Travis, with those drivers, I mean, if we did our power rankings today, and I think you would probably agree, where JGR and Hendrick are as a whole with those 3 drivers, and then you probably slot in 4th or 5th, another one of those drivers. And then it just seems like that gap just keeps getting wider and wider and wider, man, between the next car or the next team. It's like, yeah, who's the 4th driver out of those 2 teams? But the 4th driver out of those 2 teams combined still seems monumentally better than the next best driver of any other place.
Yeah, and I think you just look at it as a varsity and JV standpoint. You know, those teams are the varsity teams right now, and the rest of them are just kind of just JV. Every now and then they might just get lucky and something miracle happen where they can kind of stay close. But for the most part, it's just a varsity versus JV team right now. Then you, like you said, we have those 2 teams, and then you got the freshman teams as well. And every now and again, you got a freshman team that'll just kind of shock you a little bit. You know, for the most part, JV teams can't compete with varsity, but every now and then they might shock you. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Well, let's go ahead and look into today's running order. Denny Hamlin with the win, Larson in 2nd, Martin Truex, last year's winner, in 3rd. Kyle Busch ends up with 4th, Chase Elliott with 5th. Nice run there by Noah Gragson. He ends up in 6th. Ryan Blaney in 7th. Alex Bowman in 8th. Daniel Hemrick, you mentioned it earlier on a strategy call, ends up getting 9th. Ty Gibbs, didn't see him a lot up front, ends up 10th. Tyler Reddick, who was really, really good in this race, ends up with a very disappointing 11th based upon how he ran earlier. Then you go Chastain, Dinger, Barry, Cindric, Logano, and Buescher. Is there anybody on that list that you want to talk about either from a positive or negative standpoint?
There's a couple. You got Gragson. He just keeps getting better and better. I think he's leading the charge. I know that Briscoe's leading the points for SHR, but I still think Gragson, you take out a couple finishes where you got wrecked at the end or something, I think he's actually leading the charge of that group. And then you look at Colleague. I know Hemrick got some pit strategy involved because he was like a 25th place car. Then he got a good pit strategy, so he was able to. I think in our weekly show, we someone had Hemrick or something, wasn't it? I don't know.
It was 2 weeks ago. We said that they're not allowed to have Hemrick.
Yep.
Because he literally was getting every single week. So.
Yep. So, but I think you look at Colleague. I think AJ, they're sitting there. I know Colleague's probably in the back of their head kicking himself a little bit that they couldn't keep the Dinger in the car because he's only ran 4 races this year and he's looked pretty good in all 4 races in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So he, and it sucks.
Looks a little better than Ty Dillon.
Or Hemrick. I mean, man. So, I was even going to text you guys in the middle of the race and go, man, we got to do a show on just Colleague in general. Like, they're not looking sharp in Xfinity. They're not looking anywhere close in Cup. So interesting stuff. But those 3 drivers, especially Gregson, you got the Cullick cars, and I think even Kyle Busch, I think they needed that top 5 run. They needed that for some momentum and stuff like that. So, like I said, in the weekly show, I said I was going to buy them when they're low. They're going to keep climbing. Kyle's pretty good about compiling good runs, getting it up there. You're going to see they're going to be in the winner's circle in the next 5 weeks.
When he got the pole, I texted you and said that, man, it's going to be a fun video clip of me shitting on Kyle and then you riding your high horse in. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win. Unfortunately, couldn't compete. He ran out front for 30 laps. But, on a good note, he's up there. On the bad note, his teammate mired in 30th position again. So that car really needs a really good driver behind it to up its game, or Austin Dillon's really bad. And after trying to defend Austin Dillon, it's rough.
You hit it right there. You need a really good driver.
Yeah. So, and I mean, Kyle had nothing positive to say about the car all day. I mean, he just literally complained about the car the entire day, aero blocking, things of that nature. But the thing I come out with again, Ford, like Ryan Blaney 7th. Dude was nowhere to be found when it comes to trying to compete to win this race. Front Row Motorsports was terrible today. So again, it's kind of like SHR. They've been doing solid. It seems like they have solid. I mean, Noah Gragson is probably the best free agent hire that we've seen so far. By getting him, he essentially got punted. Yes, they dug up dirt from like 5 years ago, but all in all, he got punted because they were switching from Chevy to Toyota so that they could bring in their boy John Hunter Nemechek, who finished. Who knows where John Hunter Nemechek finished? He's terrible. So, Noah Gragson, this could have been a very negative step in the career of Noah Gragson, and he's been nothing but a professional so far this year, because we know he's goofy, man. He does some weird stuff with his hair and his personality, and he's like, I feel like this has been a wake-up call, like, hey, I got to get my stuff together to be a better driver, because this is really hard to do. Because not only was it he got punted, he was horrible last year, and and he's looked a lot better. So I want to give a shout out to him because he's been driving good. From a guy that needed to take a step up, he's absolutely done that. So that's really going to do it for us, unless you got anything else, Travis.
No, I think you're going to see some cool videos coming up. I think we're going to get a lot to talk about in the weekly show. So I think the weekly show is going to be really good this week.
We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So again, don't ask you to donate, don't ask you to do anything. 2 clicks, free, quick, simple. We ask if you don't mind doing that. We greatly appreciate it. Also, if you want to make money, Travis is the head honcho here. Look at this. Bowman, top 10, ka-ching. Bush, top 10, ka-ching. Larson, top 3, ka-ching. Hey.
Easy money.
I mean, 3 out of 5. And really, the long shot you don't have to take. That's just if you want to play around, because we're going to make you money weekly. Just throw something at a long shot. Unfortunately, our long shot was driving the wrong way. Couldn't get off the bank. So that was kind of funny, actually, to watch Todd Gilliland go backwards there. So, but it is what it is. You guys have been killing it on the betting show. And next week's schedule, we'll see what we can do, because Travis and I, we're headed to the great state of Kansas. We will be there. So the post-race show, things of that nature, when we're at the place, are a little bit different. But I'll do a vlog so that you guys can. I always do the vlogs. If you've never been to a racetrack, that's one thing for me. Not a lot on YouTube. Like, if you actually have never been to a racetrack, you don't know what to expect. So every track's different. Like, should you buy an infield pass? Should you not buy an infield pass? Should you bring stuff to tailgate? Should you not? Everything's a little bit different. So we'll be shooting that and having fun there. But like Travis said, we got a lot of good content coming up. So Travis, you got any final words before we log off on this post-race show?
Watch for me on TV at Kansas.
That's right. And if they're introducing Bubba, we might have another profile picture for Travis. So, Denny Hamlin, your winner for the Wurth 400. Some would say he's worthless. Others would say he beat, unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 favorite drivers. 3 out of 3. of our favorite drivers today. So that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. For Travis Butt, I'm Ryan Peters. This is Stuck in the Catch Fence. Stay safe and God bless.